Hello, internet friends. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Blue Sky Sanctuary. That's my property in the Baja in Mexico. It's where I'm currently filming and living. It's also my YouTube channel where I'm sharing everything that I can that I've learned through my own personal experience living here, purchasing property, and ultimately building on that property. Today, I have chapter 4 of the build footage ready to share with you. I'm going to catch you on the other side and tell you what I learned from this chapter and what's coming up next. So most videos start with me saying how awesome things are going, and this is to give the full spectrum of the experience of building in Mexico. We're having a pretty rough week. It's been an emotional roller coaster. We lost our workers because of miscommunication around finances, and so we've been trying to get things done this week on our own, and this was supposed to be the final week, and it's really slowed things right down. But we still did manage to get the bar done in the kitchen. That's drying right now. That's going to be awesome. The kitchen counters are also done. They've all been poured in cement. The ceiling guy arrived yesterday, which is really helping things move along. He's doing a great job. And we're going to start finishing these walls in the next couple days. And so the project is going probably at least a week longer than planned. But according to other people I've spoken to that are building here, 1 week delay, even 2 or 3 weeks is not too bad. I know people who are delayed by a few months. So I guess we're still doing it overall, but it really has been a project that has involved blood, sweat, and tears. And sore shoulders, elbows, backs were all pretty damaged from working with cement. It's really hard. It's forgiving, so you can fix mistakes, but it's also really dusty and really heavy and a lot of hard work, but we're getting it done. I'm not going to lie, that was a really intense and amazing 3 weeks that preceded Christmas. It was quite a transformation that we achieved here. And as I often did for this project, I was looking for ways to save money. So on that note, other things that I did to save money in chapter 4 was that I simply painted the floor rather than having it tiled or any kind of finish like that. The paint allows you to clean the floor more easily, and it's really nice to look at a color instead of cement gray. And if you do want to build on a very tiny budget, you can still afford to paint the floor, likely budget to paint the floor. It's only a couple cans of paint, and it makes a big difference in how the room feels. I also didn't finish the ceiling. it has been plastered, but it's not primed or painted. And those aren't really expensive jobs if you want to do them yourself, but the labor is really hard and looking up and doing the ceiling. And I feel like the ceiling looks good enough that I'm able to live with it unfinished. So that's where that remained. There are no light fixtures other than the two ceiling fans. Everything is just simply light bulbs. And anything else? No water heater. That was a big one. Cold showers are really good for you. And when you don't have a water heater, it's a lot easier to make yourself have a cold shower. So that's something that I've chosen to live without. And a lot of people in Mexico live without hot water heaters. So it's not really a big deal. Also, on the note of finances, I mentioned at the beginning of that footage that there was a miscommunication with my workers about money. And that's simply that when I was going to pay the foreman to pay his crew, I said that I had 1 week of wages left. He understood that the money that I was giving him was the last week of money that I had left. Monday, when they didn't show up, that's when the stress level started to go through the roof, because what I could have done with them, we could have got done in a week. But without them, even with my friends on board, it was a really it was a race to the finish line, which brings me to a fairly direct piece of advice. I don't normally give direct advice on this channel. As I always say, I'm just doing what I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm doing things the right or the best way, but you can choose to learn vicariously through me, or you can just be entertained by my story here. But basically, a safe piece of advice to give is to say, don't give yourself a rigid timeline on your build. There's just too many moving parts that are out of our control here in Mexico, from the losing your work crew to materials not being available. You can literally go to the hardware store on any given day and they are out of cinder blocks or they're out of cement. And so things like that can just stop work in its tracks, and it's best to not stress out about those things. And how not to stress out about it is to not have that rigid timeline. Getting back to finances, if I revisit my original goal, which was to build a 600 square foot house for 20,000 US dollars, I would say that technically I accomplished that mission. But having a house built and having a house that you can live in are two different things. Over the years, I have seen so many houses standing here that are these gray cinder block houses, no windows or doors, maybe a roof, maybe not. And I've always wondered how a person gets to that point and then walks away from their project. And I now know through personal experience how that happens. You max out on your budget and you have to go back to wherever you came from to earn more money to finish your project. And that's what gets left behind. Yeah, that's my $20,000 house. But to finish it, I had to rely on my $15,000 that I had in credit that I always knew I had. I was not expecting to or wanting to use all of it, but I did. And that basically paid for the full list is in chapter 3. But in a nutshell, it paid for the windows, doors, all the appliances, everything that's inside the house. So basically that 15,000 in credit cards did turn my house into a home, and I am grateful for that. I'm grateful that I had that to fall back on. It did put me in an awkward financial position, which, as I shared with you in chapter 3, I resolved by choosing to sell this property. If you want to know more about that, check out chapter 3. I'll also be sharing more in chapter 5 about that. But for today, I'd like to leave you with kind of an overview if you are thinking about coming to Mexico and building yourself. I know I keep referring to this $20,000 house that I've wanted to build, and yes, I've accomplished that, but to turn it into a home cost another 15 easy. If you're thinking about coming down and doing this, these are the amounts you could expect, or these are the amounts that I spent on the project overall, give or take a few $1,000s on each of these. So $20,000 for your property. another 5 to 7,000 on closing costs to buy that property. That's lawyer fees, notary fees, escrow fees, all sorts of fees. They add up. I would say roughly $15,000 for your power pole, your septic system to go into the ground, and power and water connected. If power and water aren't nearby, you either will be having to pay to get them to your property, or you'll be having to pay for trucked water and investing in solar power. So those are kind of some options, right? If you do things in a very mindful way where you're participating in the build, reducing labor costs, and also helping the project keep moving at a good pace, maybe you can get the house built for 40,000, as I did. But I need to say that inflation is happening everywhere right now, and that includes Mexico. And I know that my next project is going to cost me 10 to 15% more than this one did, simply because the cost of materials is going up. Even if I have the same crew and they cost the same amount, I still am expecting the next project to be a bit more. So in the ballpark of 40,000 for the house, and then 10,000 to furnish it, and 10,000 for miscellaneous expenses, those unforeseen surprises. That all together would come to roughly $100,000, give or take. And that would provide you a property about 1,000 square meters in a good neighborhood in a beautiful part of Mexico. On that note, I think I'll leave things here for today. I look forward to seeing you on Chapter 5, where I will share a whole overview of this project from beginning to end in time lapse. I'll also have some plans for the new Blue Sky Sanctuary to share with you, which is my next project. If you'd like to support me and this channel, please subscribe. I'd be ever so grateful. If you have questions, please put them in the comments, and I will see you again soon on the next one.